if you want to hold more energy, and if you want to, and I don't mean, I mean you, me, anybody, and if anyone wants to be less sensitive, it's not that your nervous system is becoming less sensitive. Nervous systems are meant to be sensitive. They're meant to sense millions of bits of information at a time. Grounding, because you can assimilate all the things the more grounded you are.
Welcome, beautiful soul travelers, to this new episode with my charming guest, Kathy Williams. Kathy, you are the creator of Radical Abundance. So I am welcoming you, and I'm very excited for this conversation. It's something that I haven't really tapped into yet, so I'm excited to learn a lot. Tell the audience a little bit more about yourself and what you stand for.
Absolutely, Yulia. Thank you so much. And really, I live on Maui, and Hawaii has its roots in knowing that we're all whole, we're already one. And my work is about remembering that and remembering the abundance that's already available within you and around you and for you. And it's innate. We've just become disconnected with messages and cultural conditioning and advertisements that, buy us into lack so that we can buy their thing. And yet, once you come home to yourself, you realize the glorious abundance that's already available. And I saw that you have an offering called something about remembrance, Julia, and that's what it's about, right? I think that's what we're all called into right now, whether it's a very small tap on the shoulder to a big board over the head. We're all being invited to remember our innate wholeness and the love and the presence and the abundance that's already available.
That is so beautiful. And, I feel that very much with this podcast. This is what it's all about. I mean, yes, of course, there is the element of teaching, but as much as there is this like receiving maybe knowledge, there is that wisdom part where I feel it's really already within us. And it's just like these little sparks of light that need to be given, or that mirror that needs to be held up so you can recognize yourself and you can see your own light reflecting back at you. So, wow, I love how fitting is that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and it can be a process. We remember, we forget, we need it reflected back to us. And often that's not really from our birth family. So finding soul friends in travel, like your trips, and I lead retreats as well, and in our own towns and communities is so important. Yeah.
It is. It is. And especially also, I find, the last couple of years showed us how important community is. No matter like where this is like close community, like physical community, but the way that I often see it, it's literally like this network of light coming together all around the globe, and also like visualizing us as being these beacons of light illuminated, where like the crystalline heart gets turned on. And I almost want to like have a segue into like the crystalline heart of Mu, because that's very much how it feels, what it is. So I would, yeah, you already teased it with this like wholeness. And for those who are watching, I pulled up this map that I found on Pinterest about this lost continent, or maybe it's more like a lost consciousness of Mu. So tell us about that.
Ooh, okay. So Hawaii is a very unique place. We are the greatest distance from any major land mass. And if you see the picture there behind her, that map behind her, it's smack dab in the middle of Mu, as most people say, or Mu, as the Hawaiians say. And so what it said is that this landmass became, underwater over the ice ages. And so the only parts that are still sticking up are the island of Kauai, the island of Maui, where I live, and a little bit less a couple of the other islands, Oahu, Big Island. There and so the island of Kauai in particular is very interesting because the way it was taught to me is that was considered the belly button of the world. It was
Mm.
like the center of Mu, the belly button. And then from the mountain in Kauai, it's the wettest place on earth. There are 5 rivers that come down, symbolically feeding each of the major continents of this.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah. And one unique thing about Mu in Hawaii and its relation to Hawaii is that there are people here who can trace their lineage to people who lived on Mu. So they're like 18,000 years ago. Long, long, long before the Tahitians and the other Polynesians migrated here. And the reason we know this is because they have chants from that time. They have chants speaking their ancestry, and they're long. They could chant for days, right? Their ancestry, all of that.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So these people, kind of like the Chinese, have a deep connection to their heritage. Hawaiians have deep, deep connection to their heritage. Of course, most people's families don't go that far back, right? But you know, 2 months after I moved to Hawaii, like two 6 weeks to 2 months, I met a kahuna, and a kahuna. The best translation is probably master, right? One who has mastered something. There are kahuna of herbs, there are kahuna of navigation, there are like masters of navigating by the stars, and there are kahuna of energy. And so this was a kahuna of energy. I shook her hand and she said, "Oh, 440." And I was like, "That's 440?" And she said, "Some people are able to hold energy like a toaster. Some people are able to hold energy like a washing machine. And you're like a washing machine, so you can study with me." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. That sounds good. I would really like that." I was really craving that at the time. And in fact, I had told my coach, I think the week before, "I'm gonna take Qigong." My coach asked, "Why do you want to take Qigong?" To really get in touch with energy, and the universe always has a plan, often much better than your own.
Oh, yes.
And so here she showed up.
There is a reason why you've been dreaming of pyramids, temples, sands, stars, and sacred geometry. On June 6th, I am inviting you into a free 1-hour Merkaba activation, a sacred energetic transmission to activate your ancient codings and prepare the path for a deeper remembrance of self and soul. As a collective, we will align with one of the most powerful points on the Earth grid, Egypt and the pyramids of Giza. This free activation is a gateway into activating your very own ancient Atlantean body technology, and remember the light codes that you carry for the collective frequency elevation that humanity and Gaia are going through. If you are a spiritual leader, priestess, a grit worker, a medicine woman, it is time to activate your very own Merkaba field so we can all sync again with the inherent wisdom of the Sophia Christ consciousness. reconnect to the sacred geometry of your divine essence. And maybe you discover that a sacred journey to Egypt in December is part of your next soul evolution. So don't miss to be part of this powerful collective. Sign up for the free Merkaba activation on June 6th by clicking the link in the show notes below.
And I began to study with her. And early on in the study, she used to say, before the Tahitians came, there was constant peace. If a papaya grew, near my home, if you needed it, it was your papaya. There's not the same kind of ownership and claiming things as yours versus mine. It's, oh, you're the one who needs it. Well, then receive it. It's fine. The universe is abundant. It will provide me a papaya when I need one. And so essentially, we are one, right? And over time, and even the families who are descendants of Mu, beings in Mu, I call them beings because am I talking too much?
No, 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 no. Like,
Okay,
this is the space
okay,
for it. Go.
okay. So the beings of Mu were not entirely physical, right?
Yeah.
Like they're more energetic beings coming into over time solidification, right? So more and more solid as time goes on, and more dualistic in a sense, right? So duality comes in. This is good, this is bad, this is mine, this is yours, all of that. That didn't exist initially. They considered Earth. They remember, right, through this lineage chant and through actually practices with the spine. The bones are very important to Hawaiians. There's body processes called lomi lomi. Bones are so important to Hawaiians as holding memory, and moving the spine
Mm.
in the correct ways helps unlock that memory. And you can, massage and do lomi lomi and compression things to unlock other memories and traumas also, let go of them. So through the chants and through unlocking of memory, they recognized that, oh, the people came down to me as an experiment, Earth being a grand experiment of knowing initially that all is love. That's all there is. And then coming into a sense of loving, then differentiation of loving self and other, rather
Hmm.
than just knowing we're all one. And then over time, forgetting. And now, right, 2025, starting the process of remembering that again. And we started that, you know, a, a decade or two ago, but really, jumping. I'm gonna shift paradigms here. Like in India, they have these things called yugas, time periods, right?
Yes.
Going from Satya, the age of truth, into Kali, the age of darkness. And then instead of going back through the other two, back up, just jumping right back to the age of truth. So it's a rocky process, right? Kind of like giving birth is a little rocky process, but it's worth it.
And it's so true what you say because, like a couple of years back, I haven't heard anybody talk about it. And there's like a couple of elders and actually also kahuna that I follow on Instagram. And I can feel and see how this consciousness is coming back and like people start to speak about it and remember and within their own remembrance, kind of like casting that net of like bringing other people to remember too.
Yeah,
I
and it's safe to talk about this now.
Yes, yes, yes. I love it. And I just like I have a conversation going on in my brain right now that is trying to figure out where would we place this in terms of like a linear timeline. And I don't know if that makes even sense, but is that something that you could talk into?
It's so interesting because, when I was learning about this and even some things I've read recently, it talks about they didn't really believe in time initially. So it was very fluid. Like, what is time? A construct that we've made up. And now we've decided it begins at what? Like, there's BC and there's a AD and, all of that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine. it's, it's
We also get to remember the Hawaiians they don't come from the Greek paradigm, right? Of these are the 7 days and their names. These are the constellations in the sky and their names. They have, instead of Orion, they have the constellation, the 3 paddlers, right? And because Orion's belt has 3 stars very close together, the Hawaiians see that as the 3 paddlers paddling across the sky every night.
that
So
is
it's
so cool.
isn't it a
And
paradigm shift?
it is, and it just reminds me of, in September, I was in the Cook Islands with my husband. And I mean, it's the first time we've ever been like that far for us, like literally on the other side, which to you, it's rather close, of course. And it like feeds also into the same energies a little bit, what we're talking about. And there was I came across that other super fascinating constellation. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's called Matariki.
Yes, yes, so that's, Makahiki? Yeah,
Makahiki. Okay,
yeah.
yeah. And it's all with these the boats and like the connection to the sea people a lot more.
Okay. So we the Makahiki is when did you go to the Cook Islands? When were you there?
It wasn't October last year.
Perfect, okay. So that is also it also translates here. So the Makahiki season in Hawaii is late October, early November, and lasts into sometimes I believe even into March. So it's, a period of several months. It's a period of harvest and celebration and peace because, and get this, you like this, because the Makahiki season starts when you can see the Pleiades on the horizon. And the Pleiades are where the Hawaiians considered their descendants, that they've come.
Mm.
So,
That makes a lot of sense. Yes.
and they're not the only ones, right? In Africa, there are tribes that believe they came from the Pleiades. Japanese, like so many different individual cultures consider themselves descendants there.
Hmm. Okay, you're giving me so many different segues. I'm just like, okay, which one are we choosing first? So I think I want to go with the Pleiades and also the number 7 first, because previous to this conversation, you brought up something that I had never heard before, which is actually like and it makes total sense that the different islands of Hawaii are holding certain energies that can also be related to a chakra system and hence also the Pleiades, right? And it's so fascinating because I did like some research myself, and of course there is so many other groups of island where the exact same, let's say, template is true. So you've really like opened another rabbit hole for me to go down. So thank you.
Yay!
But I want you to speak a little bit about how you got to know this concept and also how yeah, you perceive like these different energies. How can they be experienced when people go visit?
So again, this was brought to me by Kahuna Ho'okahi. And she actually felt that people have chakra lifetimes. And we would say chakras, common language, or energy centers. So someone who needs to learn more about, like, they've completed their survival lifetime, now they're on learning about
Mm.
interconnectedness, right? They've completed that and now they're learning about will and willpower. Okay, like that. So that she had this philosophy that people have certain, chakra lifetimes that they're going through. And she also felt that countries have a predominant chakra. So, for example, the United States, very much the heart, like learning to love people no matter what your opinion is. That
Mm.
can be a big dance. So, and you can, anyone out there, no matter what country you're in, you can play with that idea. Like, I wonder which chakra is predominant in my country. Is it issues of survival? Usually, those would have to do more with a country where people have starvation, a lot of starvation and things like that. They're just learning to be here on earth, right? And she said countries can graduate, like Haiti at one point went from being a country of survival to then being a country more having to do with with creative flow and sexuality and things like that. Okay. So the country will ultimately move to the next energy in her perspective. So she's also the one who brought this into the islands of Hawaii and brought my awareness of this. So we have the the most large island is the island of Hawaii, and it is larger than all the other islands combined. It's the biggest. It's called the Big Island. We're very creative with names here. And so the Big Island is unique in that it's still being created, right? Just a few years back, I worked on a client who was shaking, and he had been shaking for an entire month because Pele, who's the goddess of fire, of volcano, had spewed lava, Mount Kilauea, and almost destroyed his house,
Mhm.
right? And so she is still actively in this creation of earth, creation of earth. So it's interesting here. The first energy center in the body has to do with the element of earth, and it also has to do with stability. And
Yeah.
it's interesting that in the creation of earth, then people lack stability in a way because you know you never know what's going to happen, if your street will be there tomorrow or not. And of course, this is only happening in one corner of the island, but it's impactful on the entire island. There are small earthquakes because of it, and this and that. The energy of this island is very spacious, right? Because it's so big. But there's also a sense of connectedness and rawness because you see the black lava. I'm just trying to paint a picture for people. Right?
Yes.
The, the beaches, you can have black sand beaches because, it's more lava than coral. And so, and there's also a lot of, there are actually other volcanoes that are not active on the Big Island. There's Mauna Loa and Kilauea, which is the one that's spewing, and Mauna Kea. So you have this nice, big, spacious presence to this island, and going there is very special because you can see Earth being created in action.
Wow, that sounds fascinating.
It's really, really a special opportunity when it's happening, and it's sporadic. Like, in December, it was very active. Then I and my family decided to go see it, and I was like, "We're gonna quiet down for the day," and you can just see it inside instead of spewing. So, then we moved. So, the Big Island, is in the most east. Then we moved to Maui, and Maui has this beautiful creative energy, beautiful, sort of flowy. Mm, My sense is when people land on Maui off of the airplane, there's just an exhale. Like, I'm here. It's nurturing. It, it's called the Valley Isle. You, s-
Mm.
you see this beautiful fecund mountain from the airport. So you step right outside, and there's this beauty and a sense of relaxation. And so this is the island that has to do with the second energy center. Mama whales come to give birth here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the nursery for baby whales. It's the what shall we say, the bedroom for older whales, right? Place where they come to mate and court each other and this and that. So there's a I Maui has a special place in my heart, not only because it's my home, but also because of the wonderful energy the whales bring. They really
Mm.
bring something magical with their wisdom and their presence, the bringers of memory.
Yeah.
And yeah, happy to, if you have questions, answer them or go to the next island.
I think it's just something for everybody to feel in. So, and as you are, it's like you are telling a story, and I can like see myself and feel myself walking through it. So I'll let you take it away. It's beautiful. Thank you.
All right. So that was the second energy center. The third energy center. Now, I'm gonna share the way I have learned, and then I'll share a different perspective. Oh, Oahu is the island on which we have our large city, right? Our island of making things happen. Oahu, while not the biggest island, has the most people by far. More people than on all the other islands combined. Okay. So this is the island of commerce, of action, of willing it and getting it done, of the government being there or not getting things done. Um, so this to me was taught that it's the third chakra. And there's a wonderful point on Oahu. I happen to have a really special place in my heart for Oahu too, because even though it's so bustling and busy, you can go and be in a tranquil place with people playing beautiful Hawaiian tunes under a large tree and watching hula in front of the beach. And time slows down. You don't realize you're in the middle of a big city. Oh, Oahu is also the place where I gave birth to my second child, simply because they have more resources in terms of neonatal intensive care and stuff
Mm.
like. So I went there, and prior to the the birth trip, I went to the birthing stones as a pregnant woman. So in the middle of Oahu, there is this place. center of the birthing stones. It's kind of like a field that you just walk through, where the alii, kings and queens, queens would come give birth. Kings did not give birth. Okay, so and as I walked through this field, it's like a walk through time. You could feel the people who had been there before, ready to give birth. There was a sense of knowing them and seeing them and hearing them as they walked through this place to come to the birthing stones. So there are so many points of interest and beautiful places on each of the islands. And Oahu. So I would like to dispel the myth about Hawaii that it's only tropical, right? Like walking through
Mhm.
this field didn't feel tropical at all. The city is on a tropical island, but we have these big volcanoes too, and sometimes they're very cold on top. Sometimes there's snow, particularly on the Big Island. Less so sometimes on Maui, less so on Oahu. But we have varying climates. It's not just one thing. So I wanted to dispel that. Opposite of Waikiki and Honolulu, Honolulu being the big city, Waikiki sort of being the primary tourist area. If you go a little farther down the coast, there's this area, it's like a wall of tremendous green and waterfalls, and it's magnificent.
Mm.
And a lot of tourists don't even go there. They don't know that Waimanalo is this wonderful place of this beauty. Mm. So anyway, I've diverged a little bit. So I was taught that Oahu has to do with the third energy center because of will and willpower. Now there
Mhm.
is a very small island that's located near me where no one goes. And they
Mhm.
don't go there because it was bombed by the US government, used for target practice. There is some perspective that this island is the island that relates to the third chakra because it was so thoroughly, you know, deprecated and you know,
Yeah.
like bad things happen to it that it needs to grow and overcome all of that. So that's a nice perspective. But I can't say because I've never been there, what the
Okay.
energy
I was just gonna ask,
like.
well, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I I feel that actually to me, it's an extension of Maui in a way because it's such a small island. It's out there, and it's almost like Sister Maui is in an invitation to it
Mm.
to return home to itself, right?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
And we are sending groups, like, my son has been there, he's 15 years old, and he went as part of a group to reforest the island and stuff like that, so little by little, there are efforts to bring it back to what it was, and it'll get there, you know, may not be in my lifetime, but it will get there.
Mm.
Um,
And again, it feels like this nurturing mother energy, like from the womb space. Yeah, mothering it up again. So that's beautiful.
yes, yes, you can do it, I can see that in my house, so it's like, "You can do it, you're alive." Right? Earth has a lot of wisdom, right? Okay, so then we have the heart chakra.
Mhm.
The island of Molokai has these beautiful cliffs, and it was the home for years and years of colonies of lepers and people who would go over there to support the lepers and in healing and bathing their wounds and just loving them. And this is the this is the point of the energy center of the heart. The heart.
Mm.
The nurturing care. Father Damien was one of the priests who would serve these lepers who had, terrible, horrific disease that at the time was considered incurable, but
Yeah.
really, servicing them. And the beautiful thing about Molokai is there's again, it's a little bit off the beaten path. Not as many tourists go there, which means it's maintained more of its homey roots and the love of
Mm.
families, and it's less about mm, modern culture and keeping up with the Joneses, more about you know those family values and the traditional ways of you know one beautiful thing about the islands is there is a rootedness in aloha, in kindness, in respect of not only another person, but also of the aina, the land, also of the sea and the stars, knowing that people navigated here by those. And so there is this deep connection and reverence for for all of these elements that have come together to allow us to live in a harmonious way.
I'm
And
happy that
that's
you're bringing it up because I do feel that like you can't have a conversation about Hawaii without bringing up these, and I don't even know what to call it. It's not a concept, like it's a lived embodied energy. Yeah, but maybe we can just like pause for a moment with the the chakra journey and have you speak a little bit more about these. Yeah, for lack of a better word, I'm going to say like concepts about the aina and the aloha.
okay. Aloha is a greeting, but also a value and also a an energy, right? Like it literally means love and also it literally means breath of life. And so it actually it's been said that every Hawaiian word has 7 physical meanings, 7 intellectual meaning, and 7 spiritual meanings. So it's like, which meaning are you talking about? Like,
Wow.
yeah. Yeah, so there's a deep, with that knowledge, right? And now we know that there's a spiritual meaning for every word. Right. So that immediately brings a sense of energy that the English language doesn't contain, right? And the Hawaiians had a deep respect and connection to nature, not only the land, nature. That I forgot how many words they have for rain, but it's like 15 different words for rain. Don't quote me on that. I will I will come back
Wow.
and tell you how many there are, but there are a lot. There's, like, the misty rain and the pouring rain, and then the rain that, like, goes right with a little sound, it's because they're paying attention.
Yeah.
If we would pay attention like that, we would develop our vocabulary more too because it's like, that's what's important, right? Which kind of rain is happening. Yeah. There there's still and I mean, there's so much that's happened that's sort of a disgrace about Western culture coming over, like, and imposing their ways, and yet the threads of the ways that the Hawaiians knew to irrigate and things like that are still around. They've, you know, some of those things had been hidden. Some of the spirituality had been hidden. But, even when the language was being suppressed, people held on to that thread. They held on to their family lineage chant. They held on to certain aspects. And so those have been preserved and carried forward. And one thing I love is that, yes, from some people, there's bitterness about, the white man came over into this. But from the elders, they still hold their deep reverence for all of life.
Hmm.
That's what I've seen. There's so much, like, if you want to learn there and you show that you're a worthy vessel for the information, right? You're not coming here to post it on Instagram or whatever, right? Like, but you're a worthy, uncracked vessel for the information. They see that and they'll share. And the kahuna I worked with, Kahuna Ho'okahi, said these teachings are no longer for Hawaii, they're for the world. And so, anyone who tends to try to keep them, to themselves, it's like, mm, it kind of reminds me of, I think, what's in the Book of Thomas, which is a totally different thing. It's like, if you express what you're meant to express, that will heal you. But if you don't express what you're meant to express, it will harm you. And that's a very poor translation, but I think it's correct.
No, in essence, it's true. And, what you say is just a beautiful mirror of also what I am experiencing. And so I feel it's something that is happening all around the world with, like, there was a time where these teaching needed to be hidden and needed to go underground. But now it's like really, really time, like coming back to this remembrance that we talked about in the beginning. And for let's say the right people, not that there's like a right or wrong, but like to find the pure hearts in a way, and the like you said, like this pure vessel to come out and to be communicated. And also I feel very much, like this hierarchical way of approaching teachings and kind of like these guru perspectives, they totally dissolve. Like, it's no longer the time for that, and there's no claiming like this is mine, this is yours. It's all it's never been mine or yours. Like, it's all ours to reclaim.
Yes. Yes. And if we want to evolve as a species, that's a very important perspective.
Egypt is a star map and a portal to access your soul's blueprint through the sacred codings in the land. Once your soul memory is activated and the land is calling you, you can be sure to find deep wisdom and master alchemy. Now, I am warmly inviting you to join me on Initiation into the Merkaba Grid, your sacred journey into the mysteries of Egypt and the blueprint of your soul. And we are embarking on this sacred sojourn of alchemy and transformation, December 11th to December 18th of this year, 2025. You will be walking the sands of time and sacred anchor points of Akashic wisdom that allow you to remember your true origin, and that may lead to a rewiring and reclamation of soul threads into your existence and purpose. And then consciously activating these into your own Merkaba light body and into the collective grid of Gaia, as we will be working with different pyramid frequencies. There is so much potent alchemy waiting for you. And some of the highlights are a private ceremony at the Sphinx and in the Great Pyramid. So you'll have a chance to be in the King's Chamber, the Queen's Chamber, the Subterranean, exploring the Great Pyramid all by yourself, visiting the Valley of the Whales and Khafre Pyramid, both beautifully cosmic mother star templates, plus a multitude of other highly activating ceremonial sites, therapeutical temples, and more pyramids. If you feel a resonance of Egypt vibrating and really alive within your cells, register below to receive more details and schedule a call with me. I cannot wait to journey together into the greatest remembrance of soul.
So we have the island of Lanai. The island of Lanai is a very small island. Again, not visited, not super trafficked. And it was for a time a lot of pineapple plantations, like primarily pineapple plantations. And that was the primary work of the islanders. And those were sold and siphoned off. And now the island is owned mostly by one person, Larry Ellison, the tech billionaire. And so this island, for several reasons, first for the chant that's there, but also because it's the dynamic. If you think of one person buying most of your island, the dynamic of whose voice is powerful, right? And that having to rise to make yourself heard, having to rise to make yourself, to not make yourself, but recognize your own power and recognize that speaking your truth is important. And this is not only true with Larry Ellison, but also when, there are certain people overseeing the pineapple plantations and the rest are just the worker bees, right? Allowing your voice to be just as important as the next person. Allowing yourself to express your truth, even if it's not very welcome.
Hmm.
So that kind of energy of the throat chakra. The next chakra is the third eye. And if you visit Kauai, which is lovely and lush, it's called the Garden Isle, you'll feel that there is an innate spirituality there. There's something very special. It's like a pulsation of spirituality. It's undefinable. There's just an energy that almost like resonates with a it's not the same as Maui. It's maybe the best I can say is a higher frequency.
Hmm.
Now, there is a wonderful Shiva temple on this island, and like I mentioned, it is the wettest place on earth, Kauai, and there's this wonderful Shiva temple that was the dream, like this. Let me think of his name. This sadhu had an actual dream that he would build a temple to Shiva on an island. And then he came to Kauai and he built it over, and he didn't build it himself. He brought in artisans from India to create Kauai's Hindu monastery, and it's exquisite. They have this beautiful, tremendous crystal, giant crystal that represents Shiva, and it's a very special place to go. It resonates with spirituality, and there's such a gorgeous. It's got gorgeous crowns with different waterfalls and things. So the Garden Isle has this beautiful, beautiful sense. Maybe if I use an analogy, it would be like a flower opening, just giving itself, and that sense of spirituality and intuitive capacity that's there for you.
Mm.
And then finally, we come to, and some people think of that as the seventh chakra, but if we dig a little deeper, Hawaii has 130 islands ish. I don't know if that's the exact number, but 130 ish. And so we've gone from east to west, and those northwest islands are where the descendants of Mu say that most of the people lived. So that the very tiny ones, the little ones, the ones that most people don't visit, that's where they say they live. And so the way I was taught is ni ihau, and these ni ihau is also it's larger, but not visited. It's almost never visited by tourists. They have these teeny tiny, cute little shells that people make earrings from. But these Northwest Islands are the crown, like the culmination of all of it, imprinted with the energies of the people of Moon.
Mm. Thank you. I just want to acknowledge and like take a moment to like with a breath to anchor that all in, and I can feel the current rising. Thank you for taking us through. It's so beautiful. First of all, I want to say I really loved how you described the energies, not just, by the energy itself, but also with its manifestation, like in the 3D and in the physical, because I feel that this is an aspect that we often forget and even like neglect that what's happening like literally in earthly terms in the 3D that is as well as much a mirror or a translation of how this energy is manifested. So I love that very much. Thank you for that.
Thank you. And I would say that, like, if there's one that resonated with people, just sort of, invite that energy because it's available now. And one thing that I've seen from so many people is that when they come to the islands, they resonate so much. We like to say the island either invites you, to stay. You could stay 2 weeks, you could stay 2 years, you could stay a lifetime, but the island will let you know. Because if if someone's able to stay for 2 years, we say, "Oh, the island likes you," because usually it would kick you off if it doesn't like you. And but and so a lot of people who resonate here have lived in Mu. They've had a lifetime there. They're this is why this feels so juicy and so nurturing and like home because there is a deep connection and it's awakening. And of course, there are the people who feel good just because, oh, it's a break and it's being away from home. They don't feel that, deeper understanding in their cells. And that's okay. Oh, I heard the word inner standing. So the deeper inner standing in their cells. Yeah. And there are all sorts of levels of reality going on. And that's okay.
Yes, for sure, for sure. Yeah, yeah, no, it's very true. And at the same time, I'm a firm believer that with ever, level of consciousness or even also like life situations we go, we always get the fair share, like on all the levels. And especially now that you brought up like this Hawaiian language, having and like literally like speaking into all of these different levels. It's just so beautiful because I feel it touches you in the exact spot where you need to be touched to remember. So that's
Yeah,
amazing.
my son's name is Koa, and people say, "Oh, the wood," or "Oh, a warrior," and I'm like, "No, Koa in the term spark of light."
Oh,
So
wow. What an amazing name to carry.
So it's all about what level of consciousness are we bringing in any given moment. And I think that is the essence of aloha. Because if we can remember hello and goodbye both mean love, both mean breath, both mean breath that we share, like how much more intimate can it be other than as Kahuna Ho'okahi says, I love you, we are one.
Hmm. Wow. Kathy, I do want to be mindful of your time, but there was like one question I do want to ask because I also I know that there is this common passion that we both have for like as much as we tend to seek these spiritual exalted states, there is a moment for integration. And that's actually the main focus sometimes. Yeah, where I feel and I would love for you to tell the audience a little bit about what they can do to preserve this energy, to like hold this. You were so beautifully speaking about, that washing machine, like that holding the energy. So how do we hold this energy once we connect it to it? And then we go back, or like we haven't even traveled, but we connect and we want to bring this energy into our field, into our life.
Beautiful questions. Really. Thank you, Yulia. So, a couple of things. One is ground, ground, ground. Like, drop your awareness and energy down. And I say this because I can be a fairy of light, right? I was
Guilty.
around in the cosmos, right? I was a ballerina, a literal ballerina, and so I
Oh.
like to like bounce around and be a fairy and this and that. However, if you want to hold more energy and if you want to, and I don't mean, I mean, you, me, anybody, and if anyone wants to be less sensitive. It's not that your nervous system is becoming less sensitive. Nervous systems are meant to be sensitive. They're meant to sense millions of bits of information at a time. Grounding, because you can assimilate all the things the more grounded you are. And so, one of the practices that I learned early on studying with the kahuna was to imagine two cords of light going into the earth from my feet and two from my sitting bones. So from your E. coli, I would call them, or sitting bones, dropping them all as deeply into the earth as you can get them. And then draw like you're sucking energy up a straw or like like a barber pole, like spiraling up
Mm.
around your grounding cords. So whichever way works for you, drawing earth energy up into your body to support you. And then once it's all the way at the crown, then you gather cosmic energy in the way that you like best. So you could connect to the Pleiades, you could connect to the center of our galaxy, you could connect to something else and allow that to pour down and mix in with the earth energy. And this was considered an exercise to not only hook you up and fill you with all of you, because to the Hawaiians, you're just a mixture of cosmic and earth energy. Maybe not just, but that's what you are. And then prevent you from being so pulled upon by other people's energies. So, doing that simple exercise, which takes all of 3, 4 minutes, serves two purposes. One, to allow you to hold more energy, and two, to allow you to be more sovereign in your own energetic being. So I think I answered part one of your question. And then there was part two, which was more sort of like, how do you bring this more into your home? So I was thinking about this prior to our show today, and a couple of ways when you really connect with somewhere, whether you've been there or not, finding some item, crystal, piece of art, maybe an art piece that you've created yourself to sort of remind you of that energy and allow you to recall and resonate with that is a beautiful way of doing it. Maybe on an altar, maybe on somewhere, maybe at your desk, whatever it is to just peak your memory so that you call it in again. One of my one of a woman who came on a retreat with me here created a hibiscus painting for herself. And
Wow.
she's like, the Ho'oponopono forgiveness practice we did touched me so much that I went home and I painted this. And then when I see it, I think of that practice, and then it reminds me to do the practice and reminds me of the great gift I got from the practice. So little things like that. All it is just a reminder of the energy because inside of you, you already have that energy. Inside of you, if you've been anywhere, if you have had an amazing experience with any person, you don't need that person to tap into that energy.
Hmm.
It's nice. You don't need that place to tap into that energy anymore. Maybe you did initially, right? As a sort of like light bulb to turn on. Now you can bring that back simply by tapping in. And little anchors help, like that, like a practice. Maybe it's a breath practice. Maybe it's a Ho'oponopono practice, like it was for my client. And that's just a Hawaiian forgiveness practice. We could talk a lot about that. Um, but yeah. So, anyway, something to anchor that back in. Or maybe it's just a journaling practice. And I don't mean to minimize it by saying just. It's like something that brings your frequency to a higher level and allows you to hold more of that more of the time, and you have full capacity to do that.
I can attest to that. And, I actually do feel it is in these simple things and coming back to these very, very simplified moments where a lot of the magic happens. Whereas sometimes, like as seekers of the sacred, what I call it, like we tend to be outward so much, but it's actually like right here in front of your face, like with your writing, with your breath, where it all happens. So thank you for also there, like bringing this remembrance into the conversation.
Thank you. And you know what? It might be as easy as a picture someone has taken of you in a beautiful place. I have this picture of me at the temple of Isis at the altar, and it's such it just brings me right back to that place. And then I do have a little ritual from another temple where I just said I had this profound, powerful moment. And I just, after that, every time I said Isis 3 times, I could feel myself back in that place. Super simple, but very powerful. And so in your heart, ask, what's going to reconnect me to that? And do that, do more of that.
Do more of that. That's been such a juicy conversation. Is that your cat in the background? I just see all
The
the
little
time.
cat, and she became a opportunity. Hello.
Hi. Because mine is right over there. She came, like, of course, like right when the conversation started. So I feel these feline beings always want to be part of what's happening.
I'm
So
happily.
Yeah. Is there any final piece of wisdom? And I know that it feels like we just scratched the surface, but anything that feels like pulsing that wants to be spoken.
Okay, this is what came to me. So Hawaii welcomes you.
Mm.
I Hawaii welcomes you whether you would like to step foot on her and connect with her that way, or if you just like to do it from afar. The energy of Hawaii is ancient and sacred and different from anywhere I've ever been. And it's welcoming you wherever you are. So feel free to tap in and invite its wisdom. And if you know how to access, the Akashic records or just access your intuition, like connect with it that way and invite it to offer something to you because it will and it can. And you're welcome to retreat with me here. I run programs and intuition workshops in November, and I'm building a little hale. Hale means house here in Hawaii, a little one for one-on-one retreats. I can show people
Oh,
elaborate.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I'm super excited. The idea came, and the next weekend it was being built. So,
So you're
it was
becoming a land steward.
there we go. Yeah, yeah. Actually, that's part of my kuleana, and kuleana means role in a way. That's not the exact interpretation, but and my property was mostly rock when we got it, and now it's avocado and mango and papaya and lemon and lime trees and pomegranate and banana, and so it's you know I did a little bit of work and the island did the rest.
Ah, thank you for extending this, yeah, beautiful invitation. It really, I can really feel like the energy pulling in the open arms. So thank you so much for this. Where can people find you?
So, the best spot is clarityspace.org. Thank you so much for asking. You can also find me on YouTube, Awaken with Coach Kathy. I love to be on YouTube and share tips and places and fun. And you can also find me with the dolphins in June. So if dolphins are calling to you, we have a spot left to swim in the Bahamas with the dolphins. So
Ooh,
find
that's a
us.
retreat you're hosting.
Yes, hosting 2 dolphin retreats with the Dolphin Whisperer in the Bahamas,
Wow.
and you can have yoga and sound baths and friendly play with the friendliest dolphins in the world. So I'm stoked about that.
I
And there
love
is a
it.
yeah, so clarityspace.org, and I look forward to connecting.
Send me the link, and we make sure to put it in the show notes so people can find that easy. Ah, thank you, Kathy. That's been I really feel that you took us on this Kundalini journey, like through these different energies, and it's just I can feel the invitation, and I can feel how the land is like, come, I want to show you, like,
Oh,
yeah.
I want to say one more thing. It's been such a pleasure to be here with you. And everything that I shared is as I've been taught. There are different lineages, they may have different perspectives. I'm just sharing what I've been taught in the best way I remember. So, yes, I wanted to make that distinction because I know sometimes people are like, "Oh, well, I learned this way," or that yeah, there are many ways to do Ho'oponopono. There are many ways to
Yeah.
interpret the energy of the land. I'm just sharing what was gifted to me, and I apologize for anywhere my memory has failed, but I This is what I remember, and this is what I share. So, thank you.
It's been such great wisdom, and it's been such an honor to have you. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
What a treat. Thank you for this conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. And as always, stay curious and continue to escape the ordinary. And until next time.